I'm just going to start off by saying we acknowledge the Wallaby people who are the traditional custodians of this land, and we pay our respects to our elders past and present. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
What a special occasion we have tonight, and thank you so much for all coming for this most important book launch. Mikey's book launch, which is right here, which I'm sure you all saw the way in. Mike has been a passionate advocate for the protection of powerful owls in the district and protecting the local environment more broadly. Champions like Mikey and the fantastic people behind Mikey, the powerful Owlet, are needed more than ever, especially with the uncertain future of the Powerful Owl project to lose funding in 2018. But for tonight, let's celebrate Mikey's book launch, Powerful Owls, and our last remaining green spaces. My name is James Stanton Cook and I'm co-founder of Beards On and Braids On for Conservation. In past years we've planted many thousands of trees, and in recent years we are going to be engaging in rainforest protection worldwide. So this is something that, a bit of background history to what happens with me. I was recently awarded the Rising Star for New South Wales Nature Conservation for protecting the environment. Okay, without further ado, I want to just quickly make acknowledgement to some of our wonderful guest speakers tonight. So we have Graham Ross, VMM, standing over here to the left hand side. I don't think I have to go into Ross's credentials. Are you right, mate? Good. We've been here for a while. Yeah, we're already behind schedule, so yeah. The wonderful Dr. Marine Faruqi, which is right at the front. And obviously, thank you to a wonderful husband at Oma for coming along as well. We have Deb Fleet. Where is Deb? Local wildlife crew representing Sydney Wildlife. We have Dr. Beth Moth, who will just be, where is she now? Wildlife Australia Powerful Owl Project Officer. We have the lovely Robin Smith. Where's she going? The Vice President and Secretary for Byles Creek Valley Union. So here's the wonderful book. Please, I'm sure we're all going to buy one tonight. I'll definitely be getting a few. So this is, I'm just going to do a short reading from this book. It's wonderful, Marie Byles, thank you for that. So, the summit of her ambition, the spirited life of Marie, first practicing female solicitor for New South Wales, a committed conservationist, pacifist, mountaineer, explorer, avid bushworker, feminist, journalist, and original member of the Buddhist Society of New South Wales. What an incredible woman. She donated her home in Day Road, Cheltenham, to the National Trust, so well before her times. Marie was one of the district's most significant residents and vice president of the Beecroft Cheltenham Civic Trust, the first community civic trust in Australia. Now, without further ado, I am now going to actually introduce our first guest speaker, which will be Robin Smith. For the Byles Creek Valley Union about saving Byles Creek Valley.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. No microphone there. So it's wonderful to be here tonight to celebrate this second Mikey book. Beautiful images by Mikey. And Mikey's cheeky comment that Georgia has interpreted for us so beautifully. Once again, Byles Creek Valley Union is a publisher of this book. And sadly it chronicles the rapid destruction and deterioration of our beautiful environment. As most of you know, Byles Creek Valley Union was originally formed about more than 30 years ago to stop a major development in the lower part of Byles Creek Valley. This development would have wiped out pretty much all of that beautiful bushland. We managed to stop it. We won that battle, but almost 30 years later, BCVU was brought back to life on the land which the Commission of Inquiry that had been formed at that time had recommended be bought by council, was sold in 3 separate parcels to new owners, and of course they want to develop it. So one of those 3 blocks has been approved for a single dwelling, and it's been developed at a cost of 77 large old trees. The second is a subdivision into 5 blocks. It was referred to the Land and Environment Court thanks to the activism of the local community. It was approved with some restrictions, but when the owners allegedly breached their conditions, Hornsby Council called on them to stop work. Council will be taking that to the Land and Environment Court at some point, but still seeking legal advice about it. You may have read in the local paper just a week ago that Hornsby, the bushland shire, has lost 15,000 trees in the last year. And that's probably a conservative figure, I suspect. Beecroft had the privilege of leading the way with 181 square metre loss of trees in just 1 year. And that's far ahead of any of the other suburbs. The impacts of this on our wildlife are devastating. Mikey's family's been living and thriving in our area for quite a long time now, but they can't continue without the habitat to support them. It's not just the hollow trees for nesting, but all the habitat that supports the other creatures, the possums, the echidnas and everything else. Many of them are food for the powerful owls. A lot of us were really devastated last year when the last of the once thriving colony of Gangan cockatoos, as Michael saw. We adopted their image as the symbol of the BCBU. The last one has disappeared, and it was really sad. Bars Creek Valley was the only place known for them to breed, and they were actually declared an endangered population by the local state government. That didn't appear to give them any protection whatsoever. DA after DA was declared to have no impact on this population. And perhaps not individually, but the cumulative effect was devastating, and now they're gone. But last week we got good news. A pair of gangans has been sighted in Ku-ring-gai. So maybe they've realised that Hornsby is not a great place to live. We need to work together as a community to keep the trees, keep our bushland safe. We love it so much, it's so important to us. And we've got to make sure that Mikey and all his friends have a future here. And so books like this really speak to us and really emphasise the importance of what we've got and what we're about to lose. Thank you. A lot of you got raffle tickets. It's going to be drawn tonight, so you have to be here to claim it. But I also want to thank Michael and Georgia for donating the prizes. It was very good of them.
You get a fantastic Beecroft bag with Mikey's logo on it. That's collectible.
Let's now move on to Dr. Beth Moth from the Bird Life Australian Powerful Owl Project. Thank you very much.
Hello. And it is lovely to see so many beautiful faces here, and I guess I was a bit concerned about what it is that I'd say to you tonight, because I feel like everything I say I'm preaching to the converted. We know that powerful owl are important. We know that they're a keystone species that control our ecosystem and definitely shape the sorts of forests that we have in Beecroft. And we know that we're losing them. So I thought perhaps the way to go about it was to ask you what you'd like to know about powerful owl. Does anyone want to know anything? I might be able to tell you the answer.
How many are there in Beecroft?
In Beecroft? Well, I can give you some figures, but they would be estimates only, because we just found a new family actually in the last week. So potentially a new family in Beecroft, but I will say that the Sydney Basin population is an unknown. What we know is that the population is declining rapidly in the rangelands, and that the city seems to be a real stronghold for this species. It's the last stand that we're having here, and we see them really starting to utilise our urban environments. And we need to protect that, because here is where powerful owl will stay. If we're losing them out of the rangelands through habitat fragmentation, through habitat destruction, this is all we have left is the urban population, and they are a really sensitive species. They're not adaptable, and they like things to be just so. You can go and find Mikey and his family in the same place that they've been having chicks for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And the thing about our territories is that those bits of habitat are important for owls throughout the lifetime of those series of owls or pairs of owls, but there are also territories that are handed down to other powerful owls. So when we have an ecosystem designer that controls our herbivores like the possums, when we start taking those away because we lose them through car strike or we lose them because we cut down trees, those territories that historically would be available to the next generations of owls are gone. And of course then the population declines, and that's certainly what we see. Although we're having a great time and everyone's breeding beautifully at the moment, we're seeing far more mortality happening in the urban population, and as I said, this is our stronghold. Our estimates of our numbers throughout the whole population of ours is somewhere around 6,000 individuals. That goes all the way from Queensland right to the top of Cape York, down to South Australia along the coastline. That's all there is. That's all there is for parafalao. And in our Sydney Basin population probably sits at around 500 birds. So not a great deal of individuals. And we know that we're losing 80% of those every year, as we do for all chicks in the first year of life. And if we calculate the figures, when we get to breeding age for parafalao, which was somewhere around 5 or 6 years, we only end up really recruitment into the population of about 105 owls. It's not a lot, when we know that we're losing 10% of those owls every year to car strike. And of course these things are the things that have become really important in urban environments, where we're seeing cars proliferate as buildings proliferate and people start wanting more and taking more. So as much as I'd love it to be a really positive story about parafalao, and in fact it really is, in that we know we're having great success, we need to continue to try to work hard to keep them here, because I think they're fragile and they will reach a tipping point where we start to lose them really, really quickly. That's what the project tries to do. I'm hoping to be able to, to let everyone know about the importance of parafalao as a species in their own, but also as an umbrella species that helps to protect the rest of our plants and animals that live in parafalao habitat. And of course we know there are many threatened species apart from parafalao that exist in the same space as parafalao.
So Beth, are parafalaos an Australian bird, or are they found worldwide?
No, parafalao are Australian. They're all, the 6,000 birds are all there are of the parafalao. When they go out, they become extinct, that's it. There are no more parafalao anywhere in the rest of the world, so this is it. So we need actions like this, and I think the beauty of this is that it's a groundswell action that helps to protect this species, because we do not see the support that we need coming down from the top levels for any of these species that are in trouble. And I think one of the only ways we'll actually move forward in terms of protecting these species is to work from the ground up, and that's what you do. And that's exactly what this book does. It's a really, really valuable thing. And in terms of what the parafalao project tries to do is to bring education about owls to the rest of Australia as well. And by when I look at what citizen science should achieve, it's exactly what we're here to celebrate tonight. Citizen science should be available to the masses. It shouldn't be written in scientific language that obfuscates and people don't understand. And it should be something that people feel that they can connect to. And certainly that's how both of these parafalao books have really done that, and I think that's really beautiful. And certainly every time I talk to anyone, all of the faces of the Beecroft Valley Union are there on the photograph, because you're the shining standard of what we're trying to achieve in terms of encouraging people to help learn more about how to protect their own environment. And I'm really, really happy that you help. It's amazing.
Thank you, Beth. And does anyone know the sound of the parafalao? Does anyone know what it sounds like?
Yeah. Who does a boogle? One boogle. Someone must know. They're calling like that at the moment. Tell me one. Parafalao, however, is our only double hoot, and it goes.
I might have to get to connect it all through like this. Anyway, cool. Thank you for that, Beth. Inspirational. Thank you for all you do. So our next guest speaker is Deb Fleet from Sydney, local Sydney Wildlife. Welcome, Deb.
I'm not going to say very much, but there's three really important things that I'd like to say about Mikey the Parafalao book and what the work that Sydney Wildlife does. So the first thing would be thank you very much for the donation to Sydney Wildlife from the proceeds of the book. We really appreciate it. We're very grateful because our organisation is totally voluntary. We get no funding from the government at all, and all the people who rescue the animals are volunteers, and we actually pay for all the food and things out of our own pocket. But the money that this has been raised for this will be going towards projects that will help us support, our bigger projects. One of which is a mobile wildlife clinic But there's other projects as well that we'll be putting the money to. So thank you very much. We're a 24-hour voluntary organisation, so you look in the display up in the window up there, and you'll find our number. If anyone ever finds wildlife, we can we'll answer the phone and come and help you and give you advice. So the second thing I'd like to do is just relate to the impact of what happens when wildlife habitat gets destroyed. In terms of me in this local area rescuing some animals, we have had a number of large trees removed in the local area, and I think one of the ones that I was most distraught about, I guess, is that, and whilst it's not a bee croft, it's very close, it's in Pennant Hills. There's a very large tree right in Hillcrest Avenue there, and for years there was a pair of cockatoos that would nest in a big hollow there, and there was also, on the day that I was called, they said there's a raven's nest right up the top, and for some reason I'm not particularly sure about, they determined that it was a hazard, and they decided to remove it whilst there were still babies in the nest up in the tree, and whilst there were still babies in the hollow. And so I was called, it was a very cold day, it was in August, I was called to rescue this nest of ravens, and wires had actually come and got the other birds. But there was 3 baby ravens in there, none of them had their eyes open, they were still featherless, and it was so cold because they'd taken so long to get the nest down that one of them had died. But I managed to raise the 2 other ones and release them into the bush at the Pennant Hills. Council, if they had waited until all those birds had been grown up, then they wouldn't have been such an impact. Long term, loss of a hollow. Kookaburras at Beecroft Station, is that the station up there? Yeah. There was a tree that was deemed a hazard by the council, which had a large termite thing on the side of it, and the kookaburras had nested inside the termite, so nobody bothered to go and check. There was a really obvious hole in there. The tree loppers went to take the dead branch off, and the whole termite thing fell off, as well as the kookaburras. So the freight line picked up the 2 kookaburras, one of which went to Pennant Hills Vet, the other one went down to Epping Vet, and due to our network, Margaret here, who's our kookaburra expert, she managed to rescue one kookaburra, and I got the one from Pennant Hills, and we managed to reunite them. Oh. And hopefully the kookaburras are quite good at adopting other baby kookaburras, so we managed to bring them up and release them. But not back into the local area, I might say. And just another really quick one in terms of the impact of taking down a large tree. I was called where a person came, and she worked with the tree lopper. Fortunately, I guess the tree loppers were on our side. They took down this large tree, again deemed a safety hazard, but it was actually quite healthy, the tree lopper tells the rescuer. And it was 2 cockatoos in one nest, and there was 2 baby lorikeets in another nest. So that whole tree, 4 young birds. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is making sure that proper checks are made of things like trees where there's hollows before they're removed. Just the last thing that I'd like to say is I've got a very big connection to this area. I grew up in Day Road, down up the road from Murray Biles, and I'm going to get teary because my mother died on the 21st of September, but she used to volunteer all the time at bush care down the end of the Day Road street, and we used to go and visit the Hillsuck all the time. And for me, one of the reasons I'm passionate about what I do, and one of the reasons I volunteer for City Wildlife, is because of the fact that I grew up in that environment. I had the trees, I had the birds, I had the animals to see. And what I think people need to be doing is advocating for, if development has to happen, that we need to replace the native bush that's destroyed. Because currently there is no restriction on what they can plant. Sometimes they stick to the landscape plan. So our animals, our possums, our birds need continuous canopy of trees and things that they can eat, not palm trees. They can sit in a palm tree, but they can't really eat anything much out of there. They need native bush, they need native trees, and they need a continuous canopy. A ringtail possum will be easily picked off by a powerful owl if it can't hide in some trees. But if we want powerful owls, we need to keep the ringtail population healthy.
It's bittersweet, isn't it?
It is,
I've been
yes.
a powerful owls knowing they're eating those beautiful.
That's right, I know. So, we must relax, we must continue to fight for nature, we must continue to preserve the natural habitats that we have, and we must really fight for suitable and sustainable development. Thank you.